Welcome to the Beyond Barriers podcast. If you're an ambitious woman who wants to advance in leadership, then this podcast is for you. This podcast is co-hosted by Nikki Barua, digital innovator, serial entrepreneur, author, and speaker, and Monica Marquez, senior corporate leader, ex-Googler, and diversity expert. From inspiring stories to cutting-edge strategies, you'll learn how to develop the skill set, mindset, and tool set to get future-ready fast and accelerate your success. Welcome to the Beyond Barriers podcast. This is the last episode for 2021. Can you believe it?
Time flies.
And we are so grateful, honored, and blown away by the amazing podcast guests we've had on our show this past year. So we thought, what better way to close out the year than to share with you a recap of some of the best and inspirational pearls of wisdom that our guests shared in 2021.
That's right. It's so hard to believe that since our launch just last year in 2020, that we're already closing out 2021 with episode 200.
Yes.
There's just so much instruction and inspiration in all of these episodes from powerful leaders that we've been so fortunate to have as our guests.
Yes,
I mean, these
absolutely.
are some of the best and brightest minds in business that have been generous in terms of sharing, their learned experiences and their advice to all of our listeners. Every single episode is filled with all this incredible wisdom. And so we just wanted to, share that with you, but also take a moment to acknowledge our amazing team, because none of this would be possible without all of their hard work that happens behind the scenes. And just to give you a little glimpse into what it's like behind the scenes, it's, the entire process end to end to make sure that you get great content from, finding the right guests to, ensuring that they are set up for success and prepared and like having a great interview to taking all of the interview content and editing it and producing valuable content and then making sure that it reaches you and being able to distribute it across social media and online, everywhere that podcasts are found. Yes. To be able to do that entire workflow and do it consistently week after week, that would not be possible without our incredible team that we're so grateful for.
Absolutely.
And so blessed to have. And most of all, none of this would be possible or even exist without you, our podcast listeners, our community, our supporters. Thank you for listening in, because you are the reason why we do this week after week.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. So, in keeping with the tradition we started last year, what we've done is, out of the 100 episodes that we released this year, we picked the top 20 episodes that really resonated with us and with our audience. And in no particular order, we want to share with you each one of these guests and a piece of wisdom that they shared that really impacted everyone. We hope that you'll find these 20 pearls of wisdom meaningful and that you will take away something special from this episode.
So, you know what? Let's be honest, Monica. I think, you like to create the best of or greatest hits list.
Yes,
so this is the greatest hits list for 2021.
Absolutely.
And, it's a great way to kind of get a sense of all of the best advice that across 100 episodes from this year. So dive into this and it'll give you that cheat sheet into everyone's wisdom.
Exactly. So let's dive right in.
So our first one, and this actually happens to be the number one episode of 2021, although the rest are not organized by ranking, but this particular one was absolutely the highest ranking episode this year. And it's episode 182, Becoming a Change Agent with Volkswagen's Kimberly Gardner.
Yes.
And here is the quote that we absolutely love by Kimberly, which is, "When you encounter a failure, think about what you can learn from it rather than replaying the event over and over in your head. Put the record player away and move forward with the lesson." Now, the reason we love this so much is because, it really speaks to that whole idea of rumination. When we ruminate over setbacks and failures and things that we're ashamed of or frustrated by or angry about, and we just don't let it go.
Right.
And it steals precious time and attention away from the most important thing in any setback, which is learning.
Yes.
What could you do differently? What did you learn from that experience? And how does it prepare you for success in the future? So we love this quote. And Kimberly is an innovator, an industry leader in the automotive industry. And, this truly speaks to our mindset around innovation and constantly testing and learning.
Yes. So the next pearl of wisdom we want to share with you is from episode 120. Change Careers and Thrive with Cloudflare's Janet Van Wees. And her quote is, ask yourself, what are the 3 most important things that you need to do today, and focus on those?
Yeah.
And what we love about that is absolutely what she said. I mean, we are, habits of creating these long to-do lists and sometimes getting really overwhelmed at looking at them, and then being upset when you get to the end of the day and you look at it and you're like, I haven't scratched anything off of this. And so Janet's advice was identify 3 of those things in this long list that are the most important and just focus on those. And if you can cross those 3 off, then you've had an awesome day. And I think that's really what we need to start focusing on is which is that 1 or 3 things that really are going to give you leverage and push you forward. And that's something that we are constantly sharing with our listeners and with everybody that we work with, is that prioritize and really focus on the one thing and make sure you're doing that at the right time.
Next, episode 141, which was Cultivating the Next Generation of Leaders with Salesforce's Stephanie Ginzer. Stephanie shares this amazing quote that says, ask yourself if you are limiting yourself or are you in a limited situation? Now, this is interesting because it isn't just speaking to perhaps a mindset barrier, but also gaining clarity on whether there's even a possibility depending on the situation you're in. So really, before you start feeling constrained and think you're in a box, maybe examine, are those constraints the result of the environment you're in or your own mindset? And that will help you decide what actions you need to take. If it's the environment, then walk out of that environment and put yourself in a better suited environment where you can thrive and be limitless. But if it is a mindset barrier, then that is the internal work you need to do.
Exactly.
But gaining clarity on which is which will help you figure out exactly what you need to address.
Yes. So next, we want to share from episode 177, How Latinas Can Lean In with Ana Tapelo Garcia. And she shares with us, every day you have an opportunity to determine your brand and how you want to be remembered. And I think that's so important because in this day and age, and especially in this digital footprint age, you want to control your own narrative. Like, how do you want to be remembered? And always remembering that whenever you have that opportunity to introduce yourself or to make your mark doing a project, make sure that you are thinking about how are people going to remember me and focus on maintaining that brand.
Exactly. Next up, episode 171, Seizing Opportunity with CWT's Michelle Freimeyer. Michelle is the CEO of CWT, and it was a terrific episode. And here was her advice. She said, you're never 100% ready for that next role. The best way to really be ready is simply by doing it. Truer words were never spoken because, there's so much research that speaks to how women wait to check all of the boxes for any potential future role and hesitate if you don't have 100% of those skills or competencies or experiences in place. And this is a very limiting factor because you're never going to be fully ready. You may not have all of the right skills and experiences. So why not just get aligned, seize that role, step into it, and then be great at it by doing it.
Yes. Next episode is episode 190, Being Prepared to Take the Opportunity with Haynes and Boone's Shelley Rosenzweig. And she shared with us, when you're trying to develop your brand or your business, lead with the things that you want to leave people with because that's what they're going to remember. And again, it's another senior leader, successful individual telling you that your brand is important and that your reputation precedes you. And so making sure that you are doing the best work so people can remember the value add that you bring.
That's great. Next is episode 123, which is Harnessing Your Superpower with Fran Mayer. Fran is, former co-founder of Match.com and trustee and has built amazing businesses, great serial entrepreneur. And her advice is to always be open to listening to everyone's advice, but have the conviction to decide for yourself.
That's so important.
Being decisive and not just trying to get a consensus out of 20 different opinions and not really having an inner compass. Ultimately, you have to make the decision and you have to live with the outcome of the decision, no matter what the consequences are. And that's that conviction that she speaks about is that, yes, be open to asking for advice and listening to people's opinion, but ultimately you got to make the call.
Yourself. Absolutely. Next, we want to share from episode 169, Turning Setbacks into Success with Prosec Partners, Jennifer Prosec. And Jennifer shared with us, figure out what makes you feel confident. Because once you get that confidence and tame the voice inside your head, asking becomes easy. And so that is the most important thing, because we always have that little voice of doubt popping up and really finding out what is that alter ego, what's that thing that brings you the most confidence so that you can constantly keep that voice at bay, and then being able to ask for what you need or make those decisions you need. All of that becomes easy.
Absolutely. Episode 132, Differentiating Yourself with Intel's Sandra Lopez. Sandra says, take baby steps towards tackling your fears and anxieties. If you get 1% better every day, imagine how much better you're going to be in 365 days from now. Right?
Yeah.
This really speaks to that idea of habits. Habits make success, and that discipline and consistency of compounding good habits.
Right.
Simply being, able to grow into whatever you want to be. But at the same time, it also is about making big problems smaller. If there's something you don't know how to do, just figure out the first baby step and just keep compounding that. And before you know it, you're going to be at that next level.
Awesome. Why don't you take this next one?
Episode 138, Keep Learning and Advancing with Eileen Schloss. Eileen is an incredible board director, senior business leader, HR leader. And one of the things she talked about in her episode was how she made so many intentional choices about continuous learning. And her advice is, it is important to manage your life around making sure that you're constantly learning. And what that really means is that learning must be intentional. It's not just something you do on the job or when you happen to read a book or take a course, but be clear about where do you need to be, what are the skills, competencies, or experiences you need, and therefore, how do you develop that next level of skill and make choices so that that's possible, whether it's signing up for a graduate degree or master's degree or doing something else that's in addition to your day job. You have to be able to commit to it, which means you need to manage your life around what will get you there. Sometimes it's as simple as needing to move. Simple, but not easy, right? You have to move in the direction of your learning.
Next is episode 162, Navigating Life's Pivotal Moments with Salesforce's Jennifer Legale. Now, her quote was, life is the journey. It is not the station. Striving and solving problems is life. And I thought that was so important. And I know you interviewed her. So share a little bit more about what she was saying in that moment.
Yeah, this was such a phenomenal episode. And it was right on the heels of Jennifer's amazing TED Talk, which we'd highly recommend people check out. Part of what I love about her story is that, she is a very senior executive at Salesforce with global responsibility, but is also a mom of 5 kids.
Yes.
And she often talks about how women make great managers and leaders because you're already doing that every day as moms, and you're managing the household and kids and homework and food and all of that stuff. But part of your experience isn't about avoiding those challenges or trying to figure out how you can, wishing that you had more time or more flexibility. That is the journey. Life is the journey, and striving and solving those problems is life, right? So the more you embrace that is the experience of life, rather than resisting those challenges, embracing those.
Awesome. Next is episode 174, The Power of Your Story with Cowan's Ripa Rashid. Talent exists everywhere. Opportunity does not. It's about creating access and opportunity. And I think that was so important, really getting you to think about, the talent is everywhere. You got to hone those talents. You have to identify the talents in other people. But the opportunities don't always knock, especially when you want them to or you think so. But you actually have to learn how to attract that opportunity to you and really gain access. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that means putting the ladder down and giving access to other people. But other times it's also creating that opportunity for yourself and bringing your chair to the table and creating opportunity for yourself. So that's a really powerful episode. And I think you'll enjoy that one as well.
Or sometimes it's simply about building your own table if you can't get it.
Exactly.
The next one is episode 147, which is Accelerating Success by Creating Value with Elisa Steele. Mm-hmm. Elisa Steele is an incredible leader and a board director as well. Has had an amazing career trajectory of going from, starting out in a career in marketing and sales to then becoming CEO and then corporate board director and so forth. And in her episode, she talks about how every step of her journey and those next level opportunities emerged because she did the hard thing. And her quote is, take the hard assignments at the beginning of your career because you learn exponentially more than you learn in taking the easy assignments. At first it sounds so counterintuitive. Aren't you better off taking the easy assignments where you can shine, where there's less risk or less chance of failure? But the truth is, it's the hard assignments that make you better. And what makes you better and gives you unique experiences makes you more different than the others and therefore more valuable than others. And her career success, which has been so inspiring, is she attributes to basically taking the hard assignments.
What if you could pinpoint the invisible ceilings limiting your success? Imagine having clarity on your strengths and barriers so you can take action and gain unstoppable momentum to advance as a future-ready leader. Well, that's exactly what the Beyond Barriers quiz will help you discover. You'll get your personalized score based on the 25 essential elements proven to accelerate success in the digital age, so you can understand what's holding you back and where to focus your efforts. The Beyond Barriers quiz is completely free and takes just a few minutes. Go to iambeyondbarriers.com/quiz and take the quiz today.
Next is episode 143, The Power of Pause and Microaggressions with Stacey Gordon. Now, this was an excellent episode and I really loved it because Stacey really broke down, the best way to approach these, toxic cultures or sometimes these interactions you have with individuals that really kind of might have a visceral reaction for you. But she talks about the power of pause and how you really in those moments have to stop yourself and pause and really listen to understand and really then take that moment to get your thoughts together, but then definitely share what it is that, impacted you and then share it with the others and create these teachable moments. So I think that was really powerful. But the other thing that she said and the quote that she shared with us is, don't tell yourself no before somebody else has. Yeah. Give them the opportunity to say no, but don't discount yourself. So at the end of the day, like she's saying, you actually need to take charge and don't let somebody else tell you no, or that was not what they meant or whatever it was. Let them speak. But then at the end of the day, don't let that, stop you from saying how you feel or doing what it is that you need to do and really take charge. I mean, you are your own and take your power back.
Bottom line, don't negotiate against yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, so next episode is episode 151, which is Unapologetically Ambitious with Fortune 500 board director Shelley Archambault. Shelley, launched her newest book in 2021 called Unapologetically Ambitious, and it's fantastic. We highly recommend it. It's a great read. Her quote was realize that we are responsible for our careers. We own our careers, not the company, not the mentor, not your spouse or your partner. And that really speaks to the importance of running two races at the same time. The job you have and how well you do at it, but also managing your career, being very intentional about it. If you simply do a great job, but don't manage your career and you expect your boss to notice or your company to, reward you for your hard work, you're leaving your destiny in someone else's hands or expecting, your spouse or your mentor or someone else to step in and solve it for you. So own your career and do well at your job.
Yes, that's so important. Next is episode 153, How Smart Women Ask with Selena Rizvani. And she shared with us, when given a choice, choose to play. You'll learn more than sitting on the sideline observing. And I think that is so important because as research shows over and over, women sometimes self-select out. They opt out. They don't throw their name in the hat. And, it's kind of what she's saying is choose to play the game. Get in there, get dirty, get bruised. But at the end of the day, that's better than sitting and just watching on the sidelines.
And next one
is episode 160, Dream Even Bigger with Google's Ana Corrales. And she shared with us, and this was a really great episode, but she shared, be genuine and intentional in sharing your story, lest others tell it for you. And I thought this was so important because we do have to own our own narrative and we have to really understand what is our unique value proposition and what value can you add, and make sure that you're sharing that with everybody. One, so that you can attract opportunity to yourself, but two, you don't want anybody else defining who you are or, telling your story for you. So it was one thing that she said is just be intentional and know who you are, share that story with others. So behind closed doors, when you're not there, someone else is telling the right story.
Right. Really be your greatest advocate, but know how to tell your story and own it at all times.
Exactly.
All right. Next up, episode 167, which is Empowering Female Entrepreneurs with Ready, Set, Jet's Shalini Vadera. Shalini is an incredible serial entrepreneur, and she has built amazing businesses around the world. And her story of where she started and what she's doing and how she's so committed to making the world a better place. Her quote is, learn how to manage your self-talk. You can make or break yourself just on your thoughts. And we all know that is the truth, that mindset matters over skill set. But there's this constant self-talk that we're battling, right? So knowing how to manage it, because it's inevitable. You're going to face those challenges where, there's the voice in your head tells you you're not good enough or you're not ready, or what if you fail? What will people say?
Yes.
What if it doesn't work out the way you hoped? All of those things prevent you from simply stepping into that opportunity. So manage that self-talk.
Yes. Next, we have episode 178, Striving for Greatness with Aries Management, Indira Arrington. And her quote is, success is like a three-legged stool. The first leg is all about honing your talent. The second is refining your executive presence. And the third comes as a result of the other two legs, gaining sponsorship from senior leaders. And I think that is so important. And this was a fascinating interview with Indira, a great conversation, she's the chief diversity officer at Aries, and really talks about, everybody talks about this elusive, you have to have executive presence. And, how do you gain that? And she said, you have to hone your talent. You have to be confident in that talent. And when you are confident with that and you know what your talent is, then you start gaining that sponsorship from senior leaders and others who kind of see who you are. And then you have that balanced three-legged stool. So I think that was so important to share. And then finally, we have episode 196 it was Leading with Authenticity with Federation Bio's Dr. Emily Drabant Conley. And I love her quote. And I think you definitely will resonate with this.
This is my quote. Leaders who hire people smarter than them will have a thriving group who can achieve great things.
Yes.
And this is So true in any kind of leader, any kind of business, whether you're an entrepreneur or a corporate leader, that if you are the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. So hire people smarter than you, listen to them, empower them, and together you'll achieve great things. It's such a powerful quote.
Yes. And there you have it. Take this wisdom and inspiration with you as you begin a new year. And we want to thank our guests and our audience for joining us on this mission in this past 2021. And we wish you a very happy and prosperous 2022.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you for supporting us.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond Barriers podcast. There are thousands of podcasts out there, and we are so grateful that you've chosen to listen to ours. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a rating and tell a friend about it. And subscribe to get new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Visit IamBeyondBarriers.com, where you'll find show notes, links, and the best way to connect with our guests. See you next episode.